Imagine waking up one morning, knowing that by sunset, your country will never be the same again. That was the reality for tens of thousands of men on the 14th of October, 1066, standing on a muddy hillside in southern England, waiting. Some of them are farmers, some are seasoned soldiers. Most of them have no idea what they are walking into. One battle, one day, and it changes the language you speak, the laws you live under, and the culture of an entire nation for the next 1,000 years. In this video, we are going back to 1066, and thanks to advanced AI techniques that transform old historical engravings and medieval illustrations into vivid, lifelike scenes, you are going to see this story like never before. Stay with us, because what happens on that hill is extraordinary. To understand the Battle of Hastings, we need to rewind a little. This story does not start on a battlefield. It starts with a dying king and a broken promise. In January 1066, King Edward the Confessor of England died. He had no children, no obvious successor, and three very different men, from three very different corners of Europe, all looked at the empty English throne and believed it belonged to them. The first was Harold Godwinson, the most powerful nobleman in England. He was crowned king almost immediately after Edward's death, claiming Edward had chosen him. The second was Harald Hardrada, the fierce king of Norway, who believed he had a historic claim to the English throne through old Viking agreements. And the third was William, Duke of Normandy, from northern France, who said King Edward had personally promised him the crown and that Harold himself had once sworn an oath to support that claim. Three men, one throne, and all three were willing to go to war for it. Harold did not wait. When Harald Hardrada lands in northern England with a massive Norwegian fleet, around 300 ships and up to 15,000 men, Harold marches his army nearly 300 miles north in just 4 days. On the 25th of September, Harold catches the Norwegians by surprise at Stamford Bridge near York. The battle is brutal and swift. Harald Hardrada is killed. The Norwegian threat is over. It is a remarkable victory. But Harold barely has time to celebrate. 3 days later, news arrives from the south. William of Normandy has just landed on the English coast with an army of around 7,000 men. They are already burning and looting villages in Harold's own earldom of Wessex, almost certainly to provoke him into rushing back. It works. Harold turns his tired army around and marches south again, nearly 300 miles, at full speed. Harold reaches London and pauses briefly to gather reinforcements. Some of his advisors urge him to rest his men. They are exhausted after 2 grueling marches and a major battle in 2 weeks. Harold pushes on anyway. On the 13th of October, his army arrives near Hastings and takes position on a ridge known as Senlac Hill. They dig in and wait for morning. That night, both armies camped within a few miles of each other. The Normans apparently spent the evening in prayer and preparation. The English are said to have been rather louder, drinking and singing into the night. Whether that is true or merely Norman propaganda written after the fact, we simply cannot say for certain. What we do know is that by dawn on the 14th of October, somewhere between 5,000 and 8,000 men stand on each side, ready to fight for England's future. The English take the high ground on Senlac Hill and form a shield wall, a tight, overlapping line of men with interlocked shields stretching roughly 800 meters along the ridge. William's army attacks from below. His forces are split into 3 groups: infantry, archers, and cavalry, and he uses them in waves. The Norman archers fire up the hill, but the English shields absorb much of the fire. The infantry charges and is pushed back. The cavalry charges and is pushed back too. For hours, the shield wall holds. Harold's men hold the line through wave after wave of attacks. William is in serious trouble. Then something shifts. A portion of the Norman line, possibly the Breton troops on the left flank, breaks and runs. Some of Harold's men break formation and give chase, sensing victory. It may have been a mistake or a deliberate Norman tactic. We are not entirely sure. But William seizes the moment. His cavalry wheels around and cuts down the men who have left the shield wall. The English line is now thinner, more exposed. The Normans press the advantage. Wave after wave, The English hold on, but their numbers are shrinking and their energy is failing. As the afternoon light begins to fade, Harold is killed. The exact circumstances are disputed. The famous Bayeux tapestry appears to show an arrow striking him in the eye, but some historians argue he was cut down by Norman knights. Either way, once Harold falls, English resistance collapses. By nightfall, the battle is over. William of Normandy has won the field, and with it, England. William does not stop at Hastings. He marches on London, and on Christmas Day, 1066, he is crowned King of England at Westminster Abbey, now known as William the Conqueror. The consequences for ordinary English people are severe. Over the following years, Norman lords replaced English ones across the country. Land is redistributed on a massive scale. A new ruling class, speaking French, takes control. The English language itself changes permanently. Thousands of French and Latin words flood in. Words such as beef, justice, parliament, and castle enter the English language through Norman French. The Domesday Book, a detailed survey of all land and wealth, was commissioned by William in 1085. It shows how completely the Normans restructured English society. Harold's death at Hastings ends the Anglo-Saxon era. England will never be governed the same way again. One day, one battle, and the course of an entire civilization changes. The men who stood on that hill in October 1066, on both sides, had no idea they were making history. They were cold, tired, and scared. Some had marched hundreds of miles in a matter of weeks. Some had never fought before. And most of them did not make it home. History is sometimes brutal, but it is always worth understanding, because the world you live in was shaped by days exactly like this one. If you found this video interesting, please like and subscribe. It really does help us keep making content like this. Drop a comment below. Do you think Harold made the right call rushing south, or should he have waited? We would love to hear what you think. See you in the next one.